Hello everyone, PM Night 12 sent me a message asking me a question, and I figured instead of just sending him a message back, I'd actually make a video about it. I also want to apologize for taking so long to answer it. I have just been slacking on it. So anyway, he asked me if Bret Hart's return is a good thing, and I gotta say this is a great question to ask. Before I go straight into the answer, let me say I wasn't watching WWF during the whole Montreal debacle back in 1997, so it really never affected me, and I never had to choose a side. I can identify with how Bret wanted to retain the title in his hometown, but was willing to lose it the next night on Raw. I can also see how Vince calling the match early without Bret's knowledge was underhanded and devious, but at the end of the day, wrestling is your job, Vince is your boss, and you either do what your boss tells you, or you quit. So that's my whole take on that. On to the answer. Yes, I think Bret's return is a good thing, but here's the catch. If it's handled correctly. Unfortunately, it hasn't so far. January 4th episode of Raw whet my appetite for what is possible. I'm fine with Bret and Vince feuding up until WrestleMania. However, I seriously feel they're dropping the ball by including John Cena and Batista into the storyline. The problem is that neither men have any ties to Bret Hart. And while Cena has been at odds with Vince in the past, Batista has no reason to be included into the mix, other than that creative just isn't creative enough to find something for him to do. One would think you could include Triple H in the mix, but he's currently a face, though it would be an interesting way to eventually turn him heel. But honestly, do you really want to see John Cena versus Triple H at WrestleMania again? Neither do I. If Vince and Bret have to get people to wrestle on their behalf for WrestleMania, wouldn't it be more exciting if they maybe included the unified titles into the mix? After all, isn't there a certain tag team that's somewhat related to Bret, floating around SmackDown, not doing anything of particular note? It would be simple for Vince to find a tag team to champion. Big Show and Miz? Maybe. They're currently the champions, so it would kind of make sense. Have both teams feud until WrestleMania, with Vince and Bret as quasi-managers cheering them on while slinging threats at each other. It would be entertaining, it would involve wrestlers that don't normally get the Mania spotlight, and WWE would be using their tag division, which usually gets overlooked. So yes, Bret returning after 13 years away from Raw can be a good thing. At this point though, WWE really have to work hard to convince me that Cena with Bret versus Batista with Vince is a match worthy of WrestleMania. For now, I ain't buying it. Thanks for listening. Please rate, comment, and subscribe.